The story begins with our hero thinking about the past week, reflecting on his marriage to Natsuki. Everything about her seems perfect, almost too perfect. She's got it all: a steady job as a civil servant, a flawless routine, and a cool, collected demeanor. And Rakudo, an illustrator, is still getting used to their new routine. Mornings start early, and as always, Natsuki is ahead of the game, already in the kitchen preparing breakfast. She greets him with a full weather forecast, delivered with the precision of a finely tuned AI. If there's ever an Olympic event for flawless domestic life, she's taking home gold. After breakfast, she scans the newspaper like it's her daily data upload, then efficiently moves on to laundry. Watching her fold clothes like a pro makes Rakudo wonder if she secretly moonlights as a life hack influencer. By the time she's ready to leave for her job, she reads off the evening menu like a military commander. Lunch is prepped, time for perfection, and she's out the door before he can even finish processing her instructions. As the door closes, Rakudo sits there, thinking about how this has become their routine. It's seamless, professional, and honestly a little intimidating. He knows, though, that this perfection isn't the full picture. The memory of a more chaotic Natsuki is seared into his mind. Back when they weren't dating, he recalls staying at her brother Yuki's place. That's when he first discovered the other side of Natsuki. She'd been a picture of elegance until the moment he found her passed out in the bathroom, reeking of booze after a welcome party gone wrong. Her slurred apology about her weak alcohol tolerance and shy embarrassment had been, for lack of a better term, adorable. It was the moment Rakudo realized he might be a bit of a weirdo, because ever since he's been obsessed with cracking that perfect exterior. Now married, Rakudo thought he'd have more chances to see her break, maybe catch her oversleeping, or flustered over a tiny mistake. But nope, Natsuki's morning routines are so airtight they make Nasa look sloppy. He starts hatching plans, imagining her oversleeping, apologizing in a panic while he swoops in as the breakfast hero. Is that too devious? He wonders, laughing to himself. The next day, Rakudo tries his hand at mischief. He stealthily disables her alarm clock, confidently raising the oversleeping flag. Surely this is the day her flawless routine will crumble. But when morning comes, he's greeted by her usual cheery presence, completely on schedule. Apparently, her internal clock is so advanced it could rival GPS satellites. She takes over breakfast duty as usual, and Rakudo's plan goes up in flames. Frustrated but undeterred, Rakudo decides to suggest they break away from their overly businesslike marriage routines. Maybe something a bit more romantic. His imagination spirals into overdrive, picturing her being flustered by something as simple as a goodbye kiss. To the surprise, she takes his suggestion with her trademark efficiency, approaching him for a kiss like she's checking off a task on her to-do list. Rakudo braces himself, heart racing, sure this is the breakthrough moment. She leans in, and she kisses him on the cheek. His heart drops. It's cute, sure, but not the groundbreaking moment he'd hoped for. Then she nonchalantly calls him out for tampering with the alarm clock, completely unfooled. Just as he's ready to sink into his seat in embarrassment, she surprises him again with a quick kiss on the lips before heading out for work. Dinner will be curry tonight. Back by 6:30, she announces like nothing happened, leaving Rakudo a blushing mess in her wake. As the door clicks shut, Rakudo sits there, equal parts smitten and frustrated. If he is the only one struggling here, he wonders. The routine remains unshaken, but Rakudo's determination to see more cracks in Natsuki's perfect armor only grows stronger. Meanwhile, Natsuki muses about him being interesting. The next day, a package finally arrives for Rakudo. He grabs it with a sly grin, thinking this could be his key to finally breaking her unshakable routine. Sundays might be the universal day of rest for many, but for him, an illustrator, every day blurs into the same mix of deadlines and inspiration. Meanwhile, Natsuki's Sunday looks suspiciously like her Monday, Tuesday, and every other day. From the crack of dawn, she's been cleaning and tidying with a level of enthusiasm usually reserved for winning a lottery. Rakudo watches her in disbelief, trying to figure out how she hasn't run out of steam. She's dusting corners no one's seen since the house was built. While he thinks about how to sneak in a little fun, she's beaming, looking like cleaning is her true calling in life. He suggests, no, pleads, that they take it easy today. After all, it's rare for both of them to be home together. After a moment of consideration, and maybe his hopeful puppy eyes, Natsuki agrees, relieved. Rakudo bolts to the closet like a man on a mission and returns triumphantly with a silky, slightly too revealing gown. It's not just any gown, it's the epitome of 5-star rated loungewear, according to the online reviews he obsessively scoured. He presents it with the enthusiasm of a kid showing off a new toy, mentally patting himself on the back for his thoughtful purchase. Natsuki takes one look at it, raising an eyebrow but not saying much. Her poker face doesn't crack, and she accepts it with her usual grace, thanking him politely. Rikudo feels he's already celebrating with fireworks. She returns, wearing the dress, looking calm but curious, and asks how it looks. Rikudo glances at her, his face burning, and quickly mutters that it suits her perfectly. Inside, though, his heart is a full-blown drum solo. He thought he was the one setting the trap, but now it feels like he's the one caught in it, determined to act normal. He forces a smile and suggests they relax and watch TV together. As they sit down, he notices her perfectly straight posture and wonders if she thinks she's in the middle of a job interview. Sitting like that while trying to unwind, it's almost inspiring. Almost. Realizing this isn't exactly the cozy vibe he envisioned, he proposes something else. A massage. That's foolproof, right? Natsuki agrees, lying down gracefully, while Rikudo psychs himself up, determined to give her the ultimate relaxation treatment. But as he starts, he realizes something. That dress. It's very see-through. Did he just order her a gown made of the thinnest fabric known to humankind? Was this part of the 5-star reviews he skimmed? She notices his gaze and asks if something's wrong, but Rikudo shakes his head, trying to focus. Natsuki then casually suggests taking the top off for comfort. He practically jumps, stopping her immediately. The situation is already a bit too risque for his nerves. With a deep breath, he starts the massage. His imagination runs wild. But in reality, she expresses that it feels really good. Rikudo's brain short-circuits as he avoids her gaze, feeling more unsettled than ever. He debates telling her about the transparency of her outfit and stumbles through an apology, finally admitting that the dress is almost entirely see-through. Natsuki, however, calmly responds that she already knows. He gapes at her, trying to process this information, only for her to lean closer with a sly smile. She teasingly admits she thought he was inviting her for something more intimate all along. Her boldness blows Rikudo's mind, and he fails to explain that his only goal was to help her relax. Natsuki, undeterred, leans in even more, offering to return the favor with a massage of her own. Rikudo, overwhelmed and too shy to speak, tries to protest, but Natsuki is on a mission. She promises to work on all the hard spots, and Rikudo's internal monologue is just pure chaos. Somewhere between the embarrassment and the awkward tension, he realizes he's completely lost control of the situation. And maybe, just maybe, he doesn't entirely mind. The scene shifts to the family restaurant, where Kuboyuki casually leans against the counter, grinning. He teases Rikudo about married life, asking how it feels to be hitched to his perfect sister. Rikudo, slumping in defeat, mutters that Natsuki remains as flawless as ever, completely unshaken by their new living arrangements. Yuki chuckles, pointing out that Rikudo is clearly still trying his hardest. He narrows his eyes, reminding Yuki of his so-called advice. Didn't he claim that living together would reveal Natsuki's true nature? Yuki blinks and shrugs, pretending to think harder before casually noting that, while Natsuki might seem super reliable to everyone else, she's actually pretty laid back at home. This revelation leaves Rikudo in disbelief, relaxed. Natsuki? He can't even picture it. Yuki reassures him, saying it's only been 10 days of marriage. It just means Rikudo hasn't hit family level yet. This strikes a nerve, but Rikudo's face turns pink as he admits that maybe the longer Natsuki remains perfect, the more satisfying it will be when she finally breaks her composed exterior. His tone gets a little too excited, leaving Yuki to sip his tea with a raised brow, clearly amused. Switching gears, Yuki asks if Rikudo's supposed to be working today. Rikudo waves him off with a sigh, explaining that freelancers can make their own holidays, though it's clear he's just procrastinating. Yuki, sensing trouble, asks if Rikudo plans to finish everything before their honeymoon. At this, Rikudo's face darkens as he realizes the mountain of work still waiting for him. His internal monologue spirals into a dramatic mess. Will he make it? Will he survive? Cut to Rikudo later that day, dramatically declaring to Natsuki that he's locking himself in his room to tackle his workload. He warns that it might get lonely and pleads for her understanding. Natsuki, ever unbothered, calmly says she'll be fine and encourages him to do his best. Her cool, almost robotic tone sends Rikudo into overacting mode. But I'll be lonely, he cries. Natsuki, unimpressed, repeats her earlier response, practically shooing him into his workspace. As he trudges away, she casually adds that she's looking forward to their honeymoon. He freezes mid-step, blushing furiously, and stammers something about how amazing she is, as expected. Then, it's work mode, days of grinding away at his desk, the hours blurring together in a haze of exhaustion and self-pity. Just when Rikudo starts wondering if he'll ever see sunlight, or his wife, again, Natsuki walks in with a plate of freshly made food. The sight of it feels like salvation. Rikudo's heart does a little flip as he realizes she's been quietly looking after him the whole time. It's not flashy or dramatic, but in that moment, it feels like the sweetest thing in the world. She drops the food off for Rikudo and heads back to her room to sleep. Rikudo, feeling grateful, leaves a thank you note next to the empty plates. The next morning, Natsuki spots it and smiles, feeling a warm, quiet happiness. Before heading out to work, she makes another meal for him, tacks on a note, and heads out. Rikudo, of course, thanks her again. 3 days go by with this same routine, Natsuki cooking, Rikudo eating, and then exchanging notes. One day, Rikudo leaves a note for later, and when Natsuki reads it, something about it makes her feel a bit down. She sends a text to her brother Yuki, something she rarely does, and he's a little surprised. She tells him about her loneliness and Rikudo's ongoing crisis, but Yuki, reading the message, can't help but think she's just bragging about her husband. Classic. Meanwhile, Natsuki is napping in her room when she starts to feel like Rikudo's near her. She mumbles his name in her sleep, cheeks turning pink as she groans quietly. Rikudo's still buried in work, completely oblivious to what's going on in the house. Natsuki stirs, waking up to the thought of Rikudo. Just as she's about to get up, she hears the door creak open. She jumps out of bed, wondering if he's finished working. Rikudo steps into the room, asking if he woke her up. Natsuki, a little flustered, says she was already awake. She asks him if he managed to meet his deadline, and he sits next to her on the bed, grinning. He's finally done, and lets out a big sigh of relief, hugging her tightly. It's the kind of hug that says, finally he can relax. He apologizes for making her wait and thanks her for all the meals and support. Natsuki, blushing from the closeness, stays quiet, her heart fluttering a little. Rikudo flops back onto the bed, exhausted but happy. She adjusts the covers around him, thinking to herself that she's relieved he's doing okay, and that all her preparation hasn't been for nothing. For the next 3 days, Natsuki and Rikudo are all set for their honeymoon at a southern island destination. They've finally arrived, and Rikudo starts complaining about how sensitive he is to the sunlight. Natsuki, quick as ever, shoots him a look, and casually reminds him that he is not a vampire. Rikudo, still adjusting to the bright light, apologizes, saying he was totally wiped out from work. He checks in on Natsuki, asking if she's been bored while he was out of it. Natsuki, ever understanding, assures him she's fine, and is just happy to spend time with the lively Rikudo, though it's clear she enjoys his energy when it's not draining him. He hands her the key to their room, and she comments on how cute the details are, making the place feel more like a resort. The room itself is stylish, and Natsuki appreciates the thought put into it. Rikudo, however, seems more preoccupied with something else, like the perfect luxurious bed. As he flops onto it with childlike excitement, he can't help but marvel at how soft and fluffy it is, while Natsuki watches him, a little dumbfounded. He laughs to himself, thinking he's clearly the only one having this much fun. After a moment, he bounces off the bed, deciding to check out the bathroom instead. Natsuki, exhausted, takes the opportunity to flop onto the bed herself. She closes her eyes and tries to relax, but not for long. Rikudo soon comes back in, grinning about how amazing the bathroom is. He sees her setting the bed and apologizes for messing it up earlier, embarrassment creeping in as he admits he feels like all he's done since they arrived is apologize. Natsuki, always calm and understanding, reassures him there's no need to worry about it. Then, with a slight smirk, she asks, why does he think they came on this honeymoon trip? Rikudo, flustered, guesses it's some sort of commemoration. Natsuki, without missing a beat, leans in closer and surprises him with a kiss. Suddenly, the honeymoon feels like it's just starting. After the kiss, she pulls back slightly, a playful smile tugging at her lips, and remarks how their trip is all about being lovey-dovey together. Rikudo blushes furiously, completely caught off guard by her boldness, and stammers in response. His brain clearly short-circuiting, she chuckles, admitting she's been excited about this trip herself. His cheerful smile grows, and it's as if a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. Just then, she notices something and teases him. Rikudo's face turns beet red as he fumbles out an apology, but Natsuki waves it off, telling him to save that energy for later. Then, with a mischievous glint in her eye, she reminds him of the lunch reservation she made and how they're running out of time. At lunch, the mood shifts to light-hearted chatter as Natsuki introduces him to the Southern Island's famous soul food, minin pasta. Rikudo's eyes light up, and he dives in enthusiastically. Afterward, they stroll along the coastline, letting the salty breeze wrap around them. Natsuki notices an off-the-beaten-path spot and beams, calling it a hidden gem that wasn't even in the guidebook. She teases Rikudo about how he managed to find such a perfect place. With a cheeky grin, he admires her outfit and comments that it looks like competitive swimwear, barely holding back his excitement. He kneels dramatically in front of her, declaring her perfect even in moments like this. Natsuki laughs at his antics and thinks how amusingly over-the-top his reaction is. She points toward a rocky area, suggesting it looks like a natural pool. Rikudo follows her eagerly, taking in the view and marveling at the crystal-clear water, and even spotting some fish. He thinks she might have chosen this spot for him since he's not a strong swimmer. Natsuki, meanwhile, fiddles with her swimsuit and mutters something about it being a bit thick, but Rikudo, too caught up in his excitement, launches himself into the water with a loud splash. She barely has time to warn him to be careful before he slips, landing with a spectacular thud in the shallows. She rushes to the edge, calling him clumsy. Flustered, he warns her about her dress, but she stays focused on his well-being. Once she's sure he's unharmed, she lets out a relieved sigh and smiles warmly, which makes Rikudo's heart skip a beat. He watches her fuss over him and thinks to himself how amazing she is, completely selfless and unbothered by embarrassment in moments like these. To him, she's the perfect wife. When Natsuki asks him to tie the back of her dress, her cheeks flush slightly, and she silently thanks the heavens no one else is around. She thinks to herself how clueless Rikudo is about her flustered heart.